This video will premiere on 31st August 2024 as a Merdeka gift to all our Malaysian brothers and sisters. As I'm recording this video, it is the 9th of August 2024. 59 years ago, for the first time in modern history, instead of conquest, a nation willingly expelled a territory it owned into independence. Often we hear of nations invading other nations and taking over those nations. Even in modern times, we've seen that. But this was very unique in history. Singapore, my dear friends, did not secede. That is false information. But rather, it was unceremoniously kicked out of the Federation of Malaysia by a simple act of parliament. The late Lee Kuan Yew never wanted it, and his tearful declaration of that separation was recorded for all posterity in video. Let me be crystal clear. We still don't want Singapore back. Despite their economic success, we still do not want this island state. Let them be as they are. Because the problems and the issues we had way back then are still the same issues that we have today. They have chosen a different path from us, and good for them. We Malaysians wish them, inshallah, best of luck and Godspeed. Let this be the end of the debate on Singapore. Prior to the formation of Malaysia in 1963, Malaya, Indonesia and the Philippines formed a loose intra-national entity called MAPHILIPINDO. Just Google it and you will get more information. Ironically, the Philippines Congress at the time was mulling over renaming of their nation from their conquering Spanish king to Malaysia. However, Tunku Abdul Rahman, our Prime Minister then, was quicker and he named this federation Malaysia. Hence the name has stuck with us. Nevertheless, more than 60 years have passed and the Philippines gained their independence in 1946. Such a shame that they still prefer to name their country after a foreign conqueror. I have nothing against that, to each their own, but I believe that there are many things the Filipinos need to correct in their home before putting claim to lands that are not theirs. For example, according to the Spanish, the city of Manila was established in 1571, but there already existed a nation called Manila prior to this. The Kingdom of Manila, a Muslim monarchy, was founded in the 1250s. That's about more than 320 years earlier, supposedly supplanting an even older pre-Islamic settlement. The rulers were related to the present-day Sultanate of Brunei. The conflict with the Spanish raged in the Battle of Manila and only ended with the razing of the city by fire on the 24th of May 1517. The eventual horrors the Spanish visited upon the local population through coercion, outright violence and bribes converted the local populace to Catholicism, mainly from Islam and local religions. It was this which the heroes of the Nusantara Lapu-Lapu, and Jose Rizal fought against colonial tyranny. These nightmares were made easy because of one major loss that happened in the morning of the 24th of August 1511, when the victorious Portuguese walked into the empty city of Malacca. At the time, Malacca was the preeminent power in Southeast Asia. This empire ruled over vast swaths of modern Indonesia and had for the most part indirectly also ruled all the other royal houses in the Nusantara as vassals through trade and intermarriages. The mainland Malacca ruled over these islands of the Nusantara, and this defeat caused a vacuum to be occupied by other colonial powers in Southeast Asia. You can go and fact check what I'm saying. You can argue about what I'm saying. But I know best, and this is the truth. The unfathomable wealth, which was what attracted all these guys to come across the seas to Malacca, was pillaged. And it's mind-boggling to even think about how much was stolen. Just Google about the sunken Portuguese treasure ship from Malacca. This nation was and is wealthy because Malacca is the precursor to what you see today as Malaysia. Those imperial ambitions are still hidden deep within our constitution. It took 446 years and 7 days for Malaya, now Malaysia, to finally gain independence. Britain held on to this lucrative colony till 1957, post-World War II, as 70% of their foreign exchange was earned through Malaya. Yes, that's how rich we were, and still are. That's how important we were to Britain. And Britain, being an empire, they were extremely smart. They chose territories because they always wanted territories of wealth and strategic importance. If you look at the map of Southeast Asia, Malaysia is the country that is right smack in the middle. This is why President Sukarno of Indonesia waged war against Malaysia, as he feared our power. Since the 1960s, Indonesians have had a love-hate relationship with Malaysia, which did not exist prior. The love comes from those with family or employment in Malaysia, and the hate comes from those who have inferiority complex. The condemnation that is heaped on Malaysia comes from their deep-seated shame. That shame is called the Indonesian confrontation. From 1963 to 1966, Indonesia waged war against Malaysia. However, here at home, it was called the confrontation. Likewise, between 1948 to 1960, the communist insurgency, which was technically a civil war, was titled as the emergency. The reason for this sort of branding was to protect assets and industries. As in a war, one cannot claim insurance for loss due to war, as it is void. So the British and the Malaysian governments smartly did not call these armed conflicts as any sort of war and downplayed their importance. Indonesia, for all their bravado, was humiliatingly defeated by Malaysia and Commonwealth forces. I thank from the bottom of my heart our friends from Britain, Australia, New Zealand, Fiji, and the Gurkhas from Nepal for defending our freedom and way of life from the tyranny of evil. The defeat of Indonesia caused the military coup d'etat against President Sukarno, and General Suharto took control of the nation, subsequently becoming its president. He wisely secured a peace treaty with Malaysia in 1966, and with great thanks, we did not rub it in them. So our government took the view of not shaming them, rather embracing them as our kin. However, the ego of many Indonesians, a nation named after India by their Dutch colonial masters, cannot accept that they are not equal to a more victorious nation. President-elect Prabowo Subianto lived in Kuala Lumpur during the confrontation, as his father did not favor Sukarno. He studied for his secondary education in the Victoria Institution in Kuala Lumpur. Incidentally, the Sultan of Brunei also studied there. I salute you, Mr. President. May you lead your nation to glory. Despite the challenges, Malaysia has always been important to the whole world. In the ancient past, traders came here for gold and trade, and this is since the time of the Greeks. During the colonial era, it was for rubber and tin. Malaysia was once the largest producer of both commodities, and still is a significant producer. So when the Empire of Japan occupied Malaya during the Second World War, the United States was forced to innovate and invent synthetic rubber from petroleum. Malaysia is also the only continuous democracy in ASEAN with regular elections without fail, despite conflicts, internal or external, and has never had any coups. Our military has always been under civilian rule, just like it has always been under civilian rule in the United States. In my title, I mentioned about Article 2 and the Nusantara Doctrine. We will start with Article 2. The Federal Constitution of Malaysia, Part 1, Article 2A states, admission of new territories into the Federation, Parliament may by law admit other states to the Federation. Based on Constitution and the overarching vision from past leaders like Burhanuddin Helmi of Kesatuan Melayu Muda, KMM, who's from Indonesia, Jose Rizal from the Philippines, and many, many more. I authored the Nusantara Doctrine in August 2013, and it reads as follows. The Nusantara Doctrine claims for itself the entirety of the Malay Archipelago, the north-south line from the Spratlys Luzon area to the Timor-Leste area, and the east-west line from Sumatra area to Papua New Guinea area as the Malaysian sphere of influence, and future states to be incorporated to the Federation of Malaysia. As with the Monroe Doctrine, the Nusantara must be defended militarily if necessary from all foreign incursions. It is also recognized here that the Empire of Japan, as the northmost land of the Malay race, as both share a common seafaring ancestor, therefore the right to occupy and live in the islands of the Western Pacific. For a lot of you, you might not know that the Japanese heritage, though they do have Chinese and Korean and even Mongolian DNA, but a whole bunch of them did originate from the south, from the Yunnan and Indochina regions, from whence the Malay race had spread across the region. And when I say Malay, I also mean the Polynesians. So this entire Pacific, from the North Pacific to the South Pacific to the East Pacific, all the way to the coastlines of the Americas, were occupied by people of the Malay origin, Malay Polynesian to be more precise, if you leave out the Aboriginal people in the Australias. The doctrine explains itself as it calls for the union of the whole Malay Archipelago into a single nation-state empire. The modern-day borders are artificially created by European colonial masters, and we are not slaves to continue obeying and fulfilling their dreams. All you need to do is look at the border disputes that we presently have in the region. There should be no border disputes between Indonesia and Malaysia or between Philippines and Malaysia, but it exists. And this is primarily caused by the colonial masters of yesteryears. Earlier in the same year, in 2013, I crafted the Nusantara Doctrines. Pirates and bandits from southern Philippines attempted to invade and occupy Lahad, a city in Sabah. They were repelled by police and military forces of Malaysia, but they did cause financial losses and loss of life. These illegal invaders were fueled by a bunch of pretenders to the non-existent throne of the Sulu Sultanate. This Sultanate was dissolved by Manila, and the actual last legitimate descendant to it has passed on without an heir, hence ending any possible claims to it. I'm not going to delve into this absurd claim. Paying respect to uneducated, barbaric pirates and bandits will be an insult both to Islam and Malaysia. As the Philippines is incapable of managing these territories, I propose that the people south of the Duterte line, as you can see in the map, and from the Islamic island of Palawan, declare independence and seek to federate with Malaysia. I urge, encourage, and support the freedom of these peoples and the Parliament of Malaysia to accommodate and loyally vote for the Constitution in admitting these territories as new states of the Federation. The right to self-determination cannot be denied. However, once admitted to Malaysia, as it is in the international practice, the American Civil War is a prime example, as President Lincoln declared it illegal for states to secede from their federation too. Thus, so it shall be for Malaysia. Philippines is not a federation. It's a unitary republic. That means whether you like it or not, they're going to force you to be in it. But we are a federation of states, and many of the states were their own nations, just like the 13 colonies in the United States. We are more similar to the United States than they realize. They're supporting the wrong horse. They should stop backing them. It will also be illegal to seek separation. And often people will talk about Singapore, but that was a unique case, as they were unwanted. But the same will not apply to Malay territories. A territory that names itself after a foreign conqueror and cannot install law and order nor protect its territory is no nation. The people of Maharlika are Malay and have the right to seek union with Malaysia. If given a choice, I want the whole country to be federated and brought in. But I believe at this point in time, due to religious differences and due to kingpin gangster style politics, it would be difficult. I am now in Sandakan, Sabah. This city was the capital of Sabah from 1884 till 1946. Across the sea from here is the Philippines. This is the first time anyone has outright stated the deep desire in their heart in public. I am the voice and conscience of Malaysia, as I know best. As a Malaysian of Indian descent, I am and remain the only person who has the right to conduct what I'm about to declare. One only needs to read Hikayat Sejarah Melayu by Tun Sri Lanang to understand why, be it Indonesian, Filipino, or Malaysian. My fellow Malaysian, my kinsmen, therefore, as a Merdeka gift to you and to the peoples of Palawan, Tawi-Tawi, Sulu, Basilan, Bangsa Moro, and Zamboanga, as well as wherever the Sulu people reside, with Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala as my witness, I hereby formally, permanently, and forever dissolve the Sulu Sultanate and declare all its bloodlines from antiquity as forfeit in the eyes of God and the people. These pirates and bandits no longer have the right to pretend to lord over you. I declare you are Merdeka, free at last, free at last, free at last from tyranny. You, the people of Sulu, are my family. Come home to Malaysia. Swear your allegiance to His Majesty our King, the Yang di-Pertuan Agong. Hoist our flag, the Jalur Gemilang, so that your freedom is blessed by Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Selamat Hari Merdeka.